Hey everybody, I'm excited for our reading today. We are going to do our Gemini season reading, and I have a couple new decks, and also doing a new type of spread. So we'll see what awaits us. Well, I already know, but so here are the new decks. So one, I got them from my sweetie for my birthday, Tarot of the Woodland Wardens, and it has a companion oracle deck, which is Woodland Wardens. And so I'm very excited about it. Absolutely beautiful illustrations. Very excited to begin this next chapter with these cards and with the guidebooks. And just kind of, we're kind of always sorting it out, moving in a new direction, and I'm still finding out what this path is looking like, and just kind of rolling with it. So, and I do have a desire, just to name it straight out, to be even more authentic than I've been. I can get really caught up in this, like, I don't know, kind of performative energy. Not that I'm being fake or really trying to be performative, but I think it sometimes just feels like, oh, camera's on and I'm presenting something and I'm in a certain role, and I just, more and more as time goes on, I just don't like it. As I get older, I don't like it, doesn't resonate. I want to be able to be me at all times in all places and be the same me. And I know it's natural for different things that we do to pull out different sides of ourselves, but I don't know, it's not the vibe for me. I've been so intentional in the past couple years around unmasking that I don't like feeling like I'm not being fully and truly myself, and I don't like any of the rules that have either been put upon me or I've put upon myself around how to show up when doing a video. And truthfully, in the past, in any iteration of videos that I've done on any platform for any purpose, always the more raw and real and authentic I am is where and how I experience the most success, certainly. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and probably the greatest piece as well. And I just realized I did not put this in airplane mode. Let's see if I can. Got it. Okay, cool. So, all of that to say, so what we're going to be doing is I felt called to do a 4 direction spread. Like 4 corners kept coming, and then I realized that was the 4 directions. Just felt internally the direction to go in, no pun intended. And so, like, indigenous traditions in the Americas often use the 4 directions. It's very symbolic and meaningful. And the specifics of what that means and represents is really dependent upon each lineage or tradition. And so the meanings that I'm extracting from it are kind of the more common themes. Okay, and so that's what we'll focus in on. And it may be true for you that you may resonate with one direction more than another. I think there's space where it all goes together, and it can be like the whole spread can tell a story you can extract meaning from, and then again, perhaps for others, it's really more like, this particular direction is really what resonated for me. So, however that lands for you, just noting that it's all possible. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in. And our first direction we're moving in is east, okay? And that direction commonly represents sunrise, beginnings, spirit, and illumination. And the first card we pull, okay, is the Bobcat and Blackthorn. And this is the card of patience. So we're kicking off Gemini season with the card of patience in the direction of sunrise, beginnings, spirit, and illumination. Okay, whatever that is meaning for you, it's requiring some patience. And we have this paired with or clarified by the King of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so just to show you the upright, beautiful card. We've got the King of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. And so the King of Pentacles, the King is mastery of the outer dimension, so that's more external. And then the Pentacles is our material manifestation, the physical world, how thoughts become form. That's going to be body, work, stability, money, things of that nature. So mastery of that external, those external physical manifestations, as opposed to like maybe our inward like thoughts and experiences around it. It's the outward. And so we're noting patience as it relates to that. And so again, whether you're waiting for some type of like new beginning or perhaps illumination as it relates to some form of your physical experience. We're noting that this moment is requiring patience, okay? And one of the meanings that Jessica writes about here for the reversal is the need for greater stability. Okay, and so we're seeing perhaps a need for greater stability, and a need for greater patience. Okay, and so some of the intuitive messages that just came through upon receiving these two cards were the darkness before the dawn, the sun will rise. You need only be patient. Watch and wait. You cannot start a thing before it's time. New beginnings come of their own accord. All is governed by spirit, the way of things. To everything there is a time, a season. All will be revealed. Okay? And the things that particularly stood out for me, this notion of the sun will rise, you need only be patient, just the inevitability of the sun rising, every morning. Not that it really rises, I know we're rotating, but like it's always happening, it's always going to be there. And no matter how awake we are before that, and whatever's going on, we can't rush it, we can't do anything about it, but it is inevitable and it is going to be there. There's no appointed time for that. So that really spoke to me, the watch and wait, and then also you cannot start a thing before it's time. Just that there's a reality that sometimes we're early, and there's just a reality that there's a moment and there's a time, and we have to be patient with that. And then the other aspect of new beginnings come of their own accord, and again, just that there's some things we just we can't force. They start when they start. It's, you can't rush nature. Nature does what nature does. And I just kind of feel like it's like everything good and desirable in our lives, like there's something inherently natural, I think, about that. And I know we can, like, I don't know, I want to say we can like make things happen or bring stuff in, or we can make choices and we can do things. And though that there is something, like, we can't always do that. And there's something really different, I think, and when it's coming from this aspect of like, just again, something that's like just beyond our ability, beyond our time, where it's just like full surrender and hands are open, and like nature's going to take its course and do what it does. And that is not something that we can or should necessarily interfere with. My opinion, these are my opinions. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Okay, so that's what we got with these cards. A message here to lean into your sources of steadiness and support. Jessica wrote with this, leaning into your sources of authority and steadiness. And the way I related to the authority aspect was to ask the question, in what higher authority can you place your relaxation and trust, right? What is that for you that can allow you to like let go and trust in this natural order, in the timing and the way of things, that you can really sink into, you can relax into, and you can take your hands, open your hands, take your hands off, and really trust it. Seem to be a big aspect. So leaning into those sources of steadiness, those pillars of strength, steadiness, support, and your own version of whatever that safe authority is for you. Okay, that's the Eastern direction, related to sunrise, beginnings, spirit, and illumination. I love the spirit aspect as it relates to authority, just what that is for you. Okay, so the next direction is south, okay, and south is representing growth, youth, warmth, and emotion. Okay, and we first pull the moth and eucalyptus, okay? And this is the card representing an ending. So in the direction of growth, youth, warmth, and emotion, we're seeing an ending, okay? Moths are transformation, okay? And also, Jessica writes that this is the 13th card, and that it mirrors the 13th card in the tarot, which is the death card, okay? And so we have change, we have transformation, we have necessary endings as it relates to death. So I find that interesting as it relates to growth, right? Like there's something here with that. that whatever the ending is, whatever something is ending, whether that's external, it's internal, so there's a change here, perhaps there's grief here. Recognizing it's the card of youth, and so recognizing, is there an aspect of you that's now stepping into another, maybe a deeper aspect of maturity, perhaps, or responsibility, or perhaps it's the release of too much of that, and stepping into more youthfulness, whatever that ending is, for you. Okay, we've got, Jessica writes that, like, the moths seek the light, they fly into the direction of the light, and that also reminded me of plants growing towards the light. Okay, and so noticing, that this orientation towards the light, and I wrote that moments of growth and change beckon us towards the light. Okay, and this seemed really significant, really remembering that we are naturally oriented toward the light. Okay, this matters. All right, and in this way, the light could be seen that the light is what causes that growth, that transformation, the death, the change. Okay, or at the very least is the catalyst for it. Something in us innately, primally, is oriented to grow towards the light, and that growth is going to bring about change. And so remembering that. Okay, and we have this card, this ending card, paired with the King of Cups in reverse. All right, so we've got two kings in this spread so far. Okay, King of Cups in reverse, and again, kings are mastery of the outer dimension. All right, so more external. Okay, and cups are representing relational consciousness, or the capacity to bond. So that's feelings, intuition, love, spiritual connection. So this mastery of kind of the outer dimension of our feelings, of our intuition, of love, of spiritual connection. Okay, and I find that interesting that it is paired with an ending. So is there something that is shifting or changing, as it directly relates to your feelings on something, as it relates to your intuition somehow, as it relates to love, as it relates to your spiritual connection? Okay, and again, we get a reversal, and I do want to read what Jessica writes, around that reversal. Actually, I'm going to read the whole description. So she writes that an otter sits upon, oh, just for the purpose of it, an otter sits upon a rocky throne in the middle of the sea, exuding the calmness and resolve of a caring leader. He is in touch with his emotions and knows this is his strength, not his weakness. Uniquely perceptive to the needs of his subjects, he places himself amidst the waves of an unruly ocean to inspire, assist, and rule in times of turbulence. Otters are often called water dogs and are beloved for their playfulness and gracefulness in the water. I love this because this is in the direction of youth, warmth, and emotion. And here we're pulling this graceful creature, playful creature, and the king of cups, the king of emotions here. One Celtic legend tells of Saint Cuthbert, a 7th century hermit and monk known for his love of nature and who often stood in the cold North Sea to pray. When he would return to land, 2 otters would use their fur to dry his feet and warm his toes with their breath. Like those otters, our king serves those who embrace the element of water and the emotions it brings. Okay, and the reversal message, she writes, processing big feelings can be a challenge, and it's easy to become overwhelmed. You yearn for authority so that you can control your circumstances, but power can only come with balance and understanding. And I love this because, again, in the Eastern direction, we were talking about authority and where we can place our trust. In what higher authority can we place our trust? And I love here that this card then says, you yearn for authority so that you can control your circumstances. And so I do see the connection there of being able to release that control, surrender, take a step back, trust. And also, what I've learned from another tarot deck around the King of Cups is that the King of Cups controls by not controlling. And he's a master of emotions. And so there's this reality, an embracer of emotions. So there's this reality of fully feeling, fully embracing, not shaming emotions in any way, shape, or form, and being able to navigate the waters, that those emotions bring. Okay, and again, controlling by not controlling, existing in a place of power because of surrender. Okay, and so there's an invitation here, I believe, to really lean into this. All right, and a couple questions that she asked with this card is, do I allow my emotions to influence my decision making? And my read on that is it's actually more in the positive direction of like, again, because we're embracing emotions, and so are we cutting ourselves off emotionally from decision making? I feel like the emphasis is always like, don't let our emotions get in the way of decision making, and certainly there's a wisdom to that, but I think there's also a wisdom to allowing our emotions to influence our decision making. I'm just going to say it. Maybe that resonates, maybe it doesn't. Obviously, always trust your own gut, your own intuition, but there is something here around that, or at least allowing them a consideration. You know, I think it's always wise to not necessarily get caught up and swept up in something. And I think there is again wisdom to considering everyone at the table, right? Like our parts work, like all of the feelings, like what's really going on, and paying attention and listening to all that, because sometimes like maybe there's something really important there that we're otherwise ignoring or bypassing that actually is really key and pivotal to the decisions that we make. So it's just an awareness there. Another question she asks is, do I consider my feelings to be a weakness or a strength? And probably, depending on the answer to that question, is going to inform how you answer the previous question. So, and to me, this card is all about being able to see your feelings as a strength instead of a weakness. I mean, it is the strength of the King of Cups. He is in touch with his emotions and knows that is his strength, not his weakness. All right. So again, as whatever this ending is, whatever these emotions are, it's all here for you. And a question that came to mind to possibly also ask yourself is, how much grace can I give to self, to others? This idea of just kind of endless outpouring of grace, and it's not meant to have people not take responsibility for things and all of that jazz. It's really just a different thing of like, can you imagine a world just that's just so centered and anchored in the experience of grace and extending grace to one another? I mean, it would create an entire different system for sure. And just the experience of life, I would anticipate a more of a slowness, something that's far more in tune with nature. I won't go into all that, but I don't know. There's a call here, I think, for grace and playfulness, which is perfect. We get growth, youth, warmth, emotion. These cards are very fitting for this direction. A couple other questions that Jessica asks, actually a little bit more related to the previous cards, but felt like I wanted to introduce them here, which is, how can I be more accepting of change? And what tools do I have that might help me feel safe and protected when a change occurs in my life, right? As we're navigating these big emotions, and the aspects of patience and grace around that. Okay, all right. Moving on to, I believe, our Western direction. Our Western direction is representing endings, introspection, ancestors, and transformation. Okay, endings, introspection, ancestors, and transformation. And the first card we pull is the Goat and Willow. All right, the Goat and Willow, and this is the card of overcoming obstacles. So overcoming obstacles in the direction of endings, introspection, ancestors, transformation, okay? And I first want to read the description here. Okay. The goat is a symbol of balance. Interesting, because we actually get balance in the King of Cups description, where it says, you yearn for authority so that you can control your circumstances, but power can only come with balance and understanding. Interesting that we pull this as the very next card. All right. The goat is a symbol of balance, jumping with ceaseless energy, perching easily on even the narrowest footholds. Its vitality and grace are inevitable. There we go with grace also. The willow is a symbol of mourning, often appearing on gravestones. Interesting, because we've got endings and transformation here with that. In Greek mythology, willows are said to mark the entrance to the underworld. When combined, the goat and willow show us that there may be losses to suffer, but we can overcome them with renewed energy and the right balance. Okay? And so that is what the main description reads. And initially, what I got, I mean, I can read the upright if it resonates for anyone, which is a recent loss may have you feeling down, or a new unfortunate obstacle may have appeared in your path. Realign yourself with your goals to regain control of the situation. I don't know, that didn't resonate as much for me. If it resonates for you, that's great. It felt maybe a little too much with the aspects of control, to be completely honest. But if it lands for you, then wonderful. Um, and what came in for me intuitively was around like that this ending, whatever the ending is the obstacle, or perhaps it's actually representing like the ending of obstacles as it relates to this particular thing or moment or situation, whether that's specific to what came to you with this card, or if it's what joined us in the first place around the thing we're waiting to have appear in our physical reality, the thing we're being patient with. Okay. One of the questions that's asked with this card is, how can I better achieve balance in my life? Okay. And how can I plan ahead to navigate the obstacles in my path? I don't resonate with as much with that one for this particular reading, but if it lands for you, then wonderful. But definitely with how can I better achieve balance in my life? All right, and then kind of a question that came to me was also, how did my ancestors navigate this? You can ask this for yourself. How did my ancestors navigate challenges and overcome obstacles? What can I learn or take away from their experiences? Okay, and so maybe this is an opportunity or call to lean into just your an ancestral line, your ancestors' experience, a lineage that you feel deeply connected to. All right, perhaps a faith tradition where you're looking and seeing, like, how did all of those folks navigate obstacles and challenges, and perhaps specific to the one you're experiencing. But there may be an aspect here that can help you, like, kind of lean into that, grow, introspect, trust. Perhaps it serves a bit as that higher authority that you're able to trust and relax into. But again, this being in the direction of ancestors, it definitely made me curious how there might be a connection and help there with that, okay, during this time of transformation. We've also got paired with this card, and perhaps clarifying it, illumination, is the moon. Okay, we pull the moon alongside this card of overcoming obstacles. Okay, and the moon is the navigation of the unconscious. Okay, it is the landscape of ambiguity, intuition, dreams, projection, longing, and the unconscious. All right, and it invites us into the mystery, but also asks us to discern what is true from what is fear-based. Okay, what is true from what is fear-based. And so as we overcome these obstacles, there's aspects here of releasing fear. There's aspects of illumination, right? Jessica writes, the moon dreamily lights the way and shows the path forward. All right, we've got a beautiful path here. Okay. Um, she says, in the moonlight, inner truths can be revealed without prejudice or disdain. All right, so there's a moment here for just complete radical honesty and confrontation of truth. Perhaps this is part of your challenge or obstacle. Perhaps part of what gets you through the challenge or obstacle is really coming to terms and with the light and facing what is revealed in the light. We've got these two pillars here, and Jessica does speak to something around those pillars of stone. I want to find that really quick. She says that whenever two pillars, often stones or trees, frame a composition, this is an indication of balance between two opposing forces. Interesting, again, we get balance with the goat. So there's something here with balance, I think. Two opposing forces, a beginning or end, life or death, light or darkness, and the liminal space between. Okay. And so again, the West is in the direction of endings, introspection, ancestors, transformation. The card that we pulled in the direction um, of the South was the ending card, and so whatever is going on, this does seem to be a very pivotal moment of transformation right now, and here we are in Gemini season, starting this off, that leads us right up to summer solstice, right? So we're going to be entering that second half, or for yeah, that second part of the year. I'm saying second, I guess it could be for it, you know what, ignore me, but there's halves: summer solstice, winter solstice, two. That's what I'm saying. We're entering the other half. So in a number of ways, we're coming down. I feel like it's always endings and beginnings, right? We started that new 36-year cycle back in, what was it, February, March, somewhere in there. We started that new 36-year cycle. I think it was February. Okay, and so with every new beginning, that means something has ended. With every ending, something is beginning, and we can often feel those aspects as they cross over, as we enter that kind of liminal space. And so Gemini season is taking us into that, which is very exciting. We've got something new is coming up ahead, it would seem, in whatever ways that means for you. I try to not get predictive with this stuff, and I don't want to imply things that are not real and true. And I cannot help but assume that in some form or fashion, in some area of your life, in some capacity, it is more than likely that something is ending and or beginning, likely both. So whatever this moment is for you, right? That's what we're leaning into. And there's a lot of releasing fear here with this card. And again, getting messages of leaning on sources of strength, stability, and wisdom to navigate through the challenges and fears and overcome the obstacles. Again, we're going to look at the ancestral aspect to that. I said read the upright. Okay, so upright, related to the moon, says, you may be lying awake at night unable to decipher your next move. When we're in the dark, we feel lost and alone. We sometimes tell ourselves lies to comfort ourselves or to prepare for the worst. Instead, remember, the unknown doesn't have to be scary. Trust in yourself and let your intuition be your guide. Sunrise may be hours away, but inspiration can strike you even in the dead of night. I love that. The sunrise may be hours away because, again, we talked about, the sun will rise, you need to only be patient. And so there's an aspect here of things are working out, the thing is coming. There's a complete letting go and surrender. There's a facing the fears in the midst of this, looking at why can't we let go? What are we holding on to? Perhaps, noticing where are we trusting? Are we trusting ourselves, our intuition? What is keeping us up at night? What are we worried about? And where can we, again, take that deep breath, relax, surrender, and anchor in? Okay. And one thing that did come earlier with this card was the message of knowing where you are. And so I think there's something here around just really that introspection around your soul's journey and your soul's path, and taking stock of like a soul level awareness of where you are on your path, deeper and beyond like all of the physical manifestations that are going on around you, and really like being able to see things through this lens of that soul's blueprint, knowing where you are, kind of releasing the external reference points, and kind of going internal to that internal map, or what came in like the internal Torah of your soul, and like that guide, that blueprint, for you, in whatever language resonates for you. There's a celestial map, if you will, and perhaps finding some solace and peace in and with that at this time. All right, last direction. North. So in the northern direction, we have wisdom, endurance, stillness, and winter. Wisdom, endurance, stillness, and winter. First card we pull is the raccoon and sycamore. All right, this is the card of curiosity. Okay, again, this is related to wisdom, endurance, stillness, and winter. And I think that this is really speaking to me to the wisdom aspect, because curiosity can get a bad rap. I think of like the curiosity killed the cat. And I think curiosity we can get warned a bit, right, about curiosity. I think especially, I don't know, there can be a lot of fear that comes up. And I think especially in rigid systems, dogma, particularly religious systems, this idea of like exploration and being curious can really be used against one, like really and fearfully, to like, stay on this really rigid, narrow path, and to really like to not look, to close our eyes, to stay in this particular space. And while I can certainly appreciate the aspects that can relate to just like safety and care and protection, like aspects of that I think are beautiful. And I think there's a space that we can allow for this both and of safety, of protection, of and also of curiosity and exploration. And I think about the image that comes to mind is like, children exploring and playing, right? And and looking back at their parent and making sure things are okay, and the parent being there, and just this idea of like, sure, there's going to be certain things that are like kind of like, nope, this is a danger zone, this isn't going to be good or helpful for you, right? This could harm you. So we have that. And though, like, outside of that, we have the bounds, but like within the bounds, there's so much to like explore and play with and be curious about. And I feel that like oftentimes, particularly when it comes to certain maybe religious paradigms or other frameworks or dogmas or whatever, it like it's a little bit too narrow, it's a little bit excessive, it's a little bit like there's too much fear, there's too much fear running the show, as opposed to like truth running the show, and like actual love and actual safety running the show, right? And there's aspects of control that can be in that, and I don't think it's always malicious for those who kind of continue to perpetuate and relay that. It's what has been learned, and the danger is that it can really box us in ways that like aren't necessary, where it's still safe to explore other things that are actually resonant and true and safe and authentic and real and whole for us. That's really like the wholeness of our internal systems, right? So yeah, there's a balance there. Again, we're going back to the balance, and just really and looking at that. But I think there's a foothold there a bit for so many of us. Um, Here we are. So again, with that curiosity part, so the full quote is actually, "Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back." Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. And someone wrote that the full quote transforms the meaning from a simple warning into a more nuanced message. While curiosity can lead to danger or trouble, the satisfaction of discerning the truth or gaining knowledge can redeem or overcome the initial risk. And the way that I take that, because there can be this whole big thing, right, about like, whoa, staying away from knowledge, and then we think of like the tree of life versus the tree of knowledge, and this idea that seeking knowledge is going away from God, and it's not a good thing. It destroys us. And I think there are aspects of truth related to that where we can definitely go down our rabbit holes. We can not see the forest for the trees kind of situation, when we can be so consumed in ego, in mental structures, in knowledge alone. There's just certain things where, yeah, it can be too far. And there's a reality that like knowledge is also illumination, and it's also truth. And it's knowing ourselves and others and being able to see things clearly as well, right? So there's again a delicate balance there. Um, so just to discern for yourself and to hold that and to understand that aspect of both. And Jessica writes that in the Bible, a man named Zacchaeus climbs a sycamore tree to get a better view of Jesus as he passes through the town of Jericho. Jesus rewards the man's curiosity by visiting his home. So, there's an aspect here. Curiosity is not always a scary thing. It can be, in fact, again, a playful thing. Again, the first thing that came through when I pulled this card was this notion of curiosity softening resistance. There's space. Like when we get curious about something, it creates space. I think about that a lot, like in terms of like, mental health structures and like therapeutic environments. This notion of curiosity is usually something that can help our minds and our brains like relax a little bit, be less rigid, which is usually an indication of a healthy mind. The more rigid and strict it has to be, the more black and white, it's not usually an indicator of a truly healthy mind. So doesn't mean you don't have structure, but there's space. It's creating space, and releasing some of the fears that don't need to be there. All right, and so in Upright, Jessica writes, "You are well equipped to explore uncharted territories. Climb high into the tree of your interests, bounding from branch to branch. Now is an auspicious time to discover new truths about yourself and your abilities." And again, this was in the northern direction, the direction of wisdom, endurance, stillness, and winter. Okay, so it seems to be leaning into a lot of wisdom here. There's an aspect of endurance, I think, of keeping going, of climbing high up that tree, and with stillness, maybe there's a moment of like once you kind of get there, you get to that top, or you take a breath, whatever that is okay, Like you look around and you allow yourself that moment, that patience, and you're curious, you explore. And even that can be done silently, it can be done from afar. You can observe. And maybe if curiosity feels too much to you and exploration feels too much, maybe observation is the first step. Maybe there's something for you in that, in just simply observing. Okay. And we have that card, we have the card of curiosity paired beautifully with our 10 of cups. Okay. We have it paired or clarified by our 10 of cups, which is, tens are culmination, cups are relational consciousness and the capacity to bond. Okay, so we're seeing the culmination of relational consciousness, the culmination of the capacity to bond, the culmination of feelings, intuition, love, spiritual connection. So there's something related to this curiosity, to this exploration, to this observation that brings things full circle, that culminates in something very positive for you around feelings, intuition, love, and spiritual connection. Okay. Other meanings with this card, we've got emotional wholeness, harmony, relational blessing, and the vision of shared happiness that feels spiritually complete. We say it represents belonging at the level of the heart. All right, and again, just to note, we're moving in the direction of of wisdom, endurance, stillness, and winter. Okay, so we're getting there. This is the culmination. All right, the spiritual initiation with this card is receiving belonging without needing it to be flawless. Right, releasing some of that perfection and experiencing belonging despite whatever imperfections may be there with self and others. Okay, we've got this card reminds us of the happiness that comes from family and friends and invites us to commemorate our achievements with our closest cohorts. And the journal prompt with this card is, do my friends and family support my dreams and celebrate my successes? Do I celebrate theirs? And so it comes to me, especially in relationships, specifically with this card of curiosity. It makes me wonder if there's elements that you're holding back on around your curiosities or things that you want to explore because of you're afraid of like shame or judgment or the opinions of certain friends and family. And then the question of like, have you judged them or others related to their own curiosities and explorations, their own growth and changes in whatever directions they've gone in, right? So where's the fear there? Where is their fear, if there is any, related to others, friends and family, as it relates to whatever it is that you're focused on or what's come up for you in this reading? What else? Are you afraid of losing support? Are you afraid of losing their love? And might it be possible to be able to find greater support and greater love in the direction that you do desire to move in the direction you desire to explore? That resonance, right? And an opportunity to find additional family, chosen family, to find the friendships that you've been looking for, perhaps. Maybe that's part of the ending that's been there. Maybe there's been some relationship stuff, right? And this is I guess suggesting that there is still that familial and friendship happiness that is available to you throughout these changes. Okay, and perhaps like that's really strong in your life right now, and so maybe it's remembering to lean into those folks a bit more right now. What else? I've got yeah, again, that the curiosities you're considering pursuing may in fact lead you to the friends and chosen family you've been longing for or dreaming of. So that's a super awesome positive card. So I love this. I love that we've got this as we navigate through Gemini season, okay, and leads us to the summer solstice. Would love to hear any comments folks have about that, how whatever landed for you, how it resonates. Please remember to like and or leave a comment. That's always helpful. The algorithm loves it. So if you loved it, please like it. That's helpful for me. And yeah, as always, I'm here to assist you in whatever ways I can. I do have personal tarot readings available. Please check out the link. It's in the description. Or actually, no, it'll be in a link in this video. See if something like that resonates for you, if you would find that helpful for the moment that you're moving through right now. And other offerings that are there on the site. And I'll have a new one coming out relatively soon. I'm hoping within the next week, maybe two, that I'll share about. So anyway, y'all, Stay safe, stay blessed, and happy Gemini season. We'll see you in the next one. Over and out.